Alright, so the purpose of this video is for tech support, operation support positions to get a little more familiar with some of the ways that Python is set up on development machines, because you may have to support these machines and you normally aren't using Python in your daily position. So this is not an in-depth look at Python. This is just how you might find a developer's PC and how to work on it without changing things around, as that would be bad in a development situation. I've tried to script this a few times and it always came out confusing because of the term Python being used as a command, an interpreter, a location, being from different sources, Microsoft, the Python Software Foundation. Oh, it's also used as the name of an organization, and also from Anaconda. I decided to just redo the whole video from scratch as an over-the-shoulder tech support training. So there's some unexpected things, and some of it seems long and confusing. Just bear with it. In July 2025, it's August as of this video, Microsoft has been partially rolling out their Python extension for VS Code. If you're a developer or supporting a developer, VS Code's probably on the machine. You could go to Visual Studio and online and download Visual Studio and you'll get VS Code, or in some cases some people just go to the Microsoft Store if they don't need anything special other than VS Code just for coding. Let's just do that. The VS Code itself is the same, and for our purposes here on this new machine we don't need anything else. So I'm going to get Visual Studio Code and install it, and we don't know if we're going to get the full extension for Python. They're rolling out an update to it, so even if you install the extension you may not get all the features. So let's just see what happens. So we've installed it and I'm going to run it, and here's VS Code. The first thing I'm going to do is go to the extensions, and I have no extensions installed because I just installed VS Code. The Python extension looks like it's already at the top of the list here, but otherwise you can type Python and search for it. And you want the Python extension from Microsoft. There's other Python extensions from other sources. There's even a Python virtual environment extension. However, I would recommend, especially after it's fully released, use the Microsoft's Python extension, which will include soon full support for virtual environments. It's, again, as of this video, it's not yet, and I'll show you some of the problems with it during this rollout. So I'm going to click install. Give it a moment to install. Now this is the same computer that I just let's click allow for the visual code there. Okay, this is the same computer. I just installed the Microsoft Python, the non-Microsoft Python from the Python Software Organization or Foundation, and the Anaconda versions of Python. So there's Pythons from a bunch of different sources and different versions. And this is the state you'll probably find a developer's workstation in. There's a good chance they're using Visual Code. If not, asking them to install it just to look at everything doesn't really hurt anything. But I'm just going to show you here that after we install the Python extension, yeah, we're on one of them that doesn't get it. So if you look here, I don't see the Python section here. Let me just double check by closing and opening Visual Studio Code. Yeah, if you look here, I have testing, extensions, run and debug, source control, search. So this is actually good because now we can go over how to enable this. Microsoft on their Visual Studio Python section explains that some people will get it, some people won't, even if you install it, which is kind of irritating, but sure. So it's the section for managing virtual environments that you don't get. You still have other features to enable the extension features while they're rolling it out, which means they're testing it only on some people. Some people get it, some people don't get it. You have to go to the profile folder. Can't make this bigger. Let me just show you a notepad. All right, we're going to go to the app data roaming code user folder. That's right here. And make sure that the view is set to show file name extension and hidden items. And if you don't see a settings.json file, we're going to make one. So it's possible you could have one there already. If you see it has the extension text, make sure it doesn't. It's a JSON file. Say yes to change the extension. And I'm going to edit this. Now you may have something already in here. My other machine had this in there. The default Python was set to the Microsoft's Python 3.13, which is fine because we saw the virtual environments override that anyway when necessary. What we're looking for is this right here. If you don't have the python.useEnvironments extension true, set that in there. And if you do have something before it, make sure you have a comma at the end. The last item doesn't have a comma. So when you add something, you need to put a comma at the end of the previous last item. So now that we have this in there, I'm going to click the X on the tab to prompt us to save the file. If you click the X on the application notepad, it's not going to save the file. I guess it's safe in some ways, but irritating in other ways. Once that's saved, I'm going to start up our Visual Code again, our Visual Studio Code. And we now have a new extension icon in our activity bar here. If I click it, it shows Environment Manager. I know our screen's a little small here. I've never tried to make this screen bigger. Can we do that? Control plus equals. Okay, let's try that. Control. Oh, we can. That's good. Never had to actually make that larger before. So let us get this out of the way here. So we now have our environment manager here. So we already have a folder here. Let's actually do that. Let's actually open a folder, our test1 folder. Select it. If you haven't already seen me make that test environment, go back to the Microsoft Python management step earlier in this video. So we're in here now, and we could run and load all the scripts and whatnot, just like you would any project in Visual Studio Code. But we're going to focus on our virtual environment. Let's take a look at global. If we look at global, this actually shows us all of the individual Pythons we previously installed. So the ones that just say like Python 3.11, if you hover over it, you'll see it's in the Microsoft folders. 3.11 here in the Microsoft folder. The other ones that say 64-bit, if you hover over that, it's in the programs Python folder. These are the ones we downloaded and installed from the Python software organization, the non-Microsoft versions. Conda doesn't show up here because it's not a direct Python install. However, there's a Conda section, so Microsoft's extension actually recognizes Conda. If we click on here, it actually discovered and shows us our base environment, which we saw in our previous section, and also one named environment called PY312, which is the one we made in our Conda section. So Visual Studio Code with the Python extension and the environment manager enabled, which hopefully sometime in the future it'll enable by default. You won't have to go through that activating it. It can actually show you all of your virtual environments. So if I click VENV, I actually can see, let me close my Conda. I have a 3.11 here. Now, what about the other version that I had installed? Well, because the Microsoft and non-Microsoft, not the Conda, Virtual environments are not centralized. It's a little harder to find them. So let's actually go and open a folder. Test 2 is where we installed the non-Microsoft Python downloaded from the python.org site. I'm going to select that folder. I'm going to trust the author because it's me. And I'm now in the test 2 folder, which has the Python 3.10, the Py 3.10 virtual environment. And I'm going to go to my Python extension, look at my environments manager under VENV, and it now shows the Py 3.10. So it is showing the virtual environment setup for the particular project folder that you have open. That's a little different from the Conda environment, which just shows you all of the centrally created Conda environments. Now keep in mind, the Conda environments are not activated. They're just listed. What you have in the VENV folder is the current active Python environment, which is branched off of one of these global environments. So by visually being able to see this, it makes it a little easier to unscramble rather than going to every folder and then using the command line and such. Now, speaking of the command line, you can view the terminal. Now, I've just started a terminal. It's hard to see it with my font so big. The terminal looks very small. But I've started a PowerShell terminal. And if I type Python -- version, what do I get? 3.13. This terminal can activate the Microsoft Python, the non-Microsoft Python from the Python software organization or foundation, and it should have the Conda command available. Let me see if I just type Conda, what happens. Oh, it's not recognized. It's not set up. All right, in order to get Conda working, the Conda command working without affecting Python, let us look at our user profile. And here it is, Anaconda 3. Right there. So let us take that in our advanced or view advanced system settings. We're going to look at our environments variables. Now we probably want to use it as a path in our user environments variables. I'm going to add a new path to Anaconda 3 scripts, which is not the path to Python. It's the path to Conda. I'm going to click OK and OK. And let's see if we can get Visual Studio Code to use the Conda command. Yep, it does. So it is using the Conda command now inside of our PowerShell in Visual Studio Code. Now keep in mind that did not override our Python if we type. So if we look at our virtual environments, there's a couple things we can do here. We can actually click plus and create a virtual environment. Let's go to a folder we haven't used. Let's open the folder test 3. Trust it. That does not actually have a virtual environment. So in our virtual environments manager, we have no virtual environment found because the Python virtual environments from Microsoft and the non-Microsoft version is local to your folder. The Conda environment is global, but only activated when you activate it. So seeing no virtual environment, we can click plus here or here, I guess, And we have a choice. We can create a VENV. Let's do that and choose from the versions of Python that we have installed. And you can actually see, you can select either the Microsoft install or the non-Microsoft install. Let's just try one. Let's try this one. Enter the name. The default name is .venv. The dot, I think it makes it invisible or hidden, or also puts it at the top of the list. But in our case, a lot of our apps we download don't use the dot, so I'm gonna just call it VENV. Hit enter, and I'm gonna skip package installation, as usually when you download an app, an AI app from a website, it has its own install. So I'm gonna skip package installation. You can see in the corner it's creating a virtual environment, and it's done. Now if we take a look at the virtual environment, we now see that instead of saying none found, it lists a virtual environment, and we can even click one of these icons to either install a package, or in this case run a terminal. Why did it do that? Oh, yeah, I haven't set my security policies. In any case, let's close this. Go to PowerShell, run as administrator. And just say all. So I set the execution policy to remote signed. Let's see what it does inside of our Visual Studio Code. I'm in the, I think it did a run. Let's close this and start it again. Virtual environments. Choose a virtual environment. Open a terminal. Oh, okay, it worked. So now we have our virtual environment set. So if anyone doesn't know what I did, I set the script execution policy in PowerShell as administrator to remote signed, which is allowing us to locally run our scripts. So the activate script did run. So now if we type Python version, we get 3.11. So once again, the purpose of these videos was for operations and tech support users to get a little more familiar with some of the setups on machines that are not theirs because they're supporting other people's machines, and how to navigate through the versions of Python without breaking anything. So even though I ran into a few snags, I think it's probably a good exercise because you're probably going to run into the same thing. So how does Conda work for this? Let's actually take a look. So we had 3 test folders, one with the Microsoft virtual environment, one with the non-Microsoft virtual environment, and the third one, we actually just created this Microsoft virtual environment. But we also had used it to create a Conda virtual environment, but it's not in this folder because these are not based on location. Let's see what happens if we try to create a new one. I've seen issues with this, and I think it's because when I started looking at this, they didn't fully implement this. But you're supposed to be able to choose versions in here. Let us try creating a named Conda environment, and we'll call it Py 3.9, which is what we've never installed yet. I'm going to hit enter. Nope, it's still not working. The Microsoft documentation says you can choose the version, but I haven't seen that work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a terminal in the base Conda environment. You know what, let's kill all the previous terminals so we don't confuse ourselves here. So we just have one terminal. So I'm now in the base environment in test 3. Until the feature is fully implemented, or until you see when you create a Conda environment the option to choose a version, I'm going to just say open a Conda terminal in a base environment. Doesn't matter what folder you're in because it's not going to create it locally. And just type the Conda command, which now works because we put Conda in our path. Conda create name Py 3.9 and Python equals 3.9. See if that works. Gonna accept the service agreement. I don't know why it's asking me again, but sure. It's gonna download everything it needs for this 3.9 environment. 3.9. So this is the same thing we did outside in the Anaconda terminal, but this time we're doing it in PowerShell inside VS Code. Give it a moment to download and install, and it's done. And let's see if we refresh our environments manager. We now have a Python 3.9, and we could either activate it here, or let's actually close this window so it's not there anymore. We're gonna just click this button here and we're automatically in the environment. So this is convenient because you can see all of your Python environments, including Conda, in this environments manager, and you can switch between Conda environments or go to folders that have virtual environments and just enable them. And you can see what's happening right here. Let's do this here. So in our test 3, we've created a Microsoft virtual environment. Okay, let's do this as the last thing since we've already seen how it all works. Let me close this environment. So I'm in my test 3 folder, which in our previous example, we created a Microsoft virtual environment. So we can go into our virtual environments and see we have a 3.11 virtual environment set up in this test 3 folder. What happens if we combine them with a Conda environment? I don't know how to do this from here. I know how to do it from the command line. Is there a way to do it from here? Because we can open a folder. I mean, we can open a command window, but it doesn't have to have the virtual environment enabled unless we click this. So if I click this button under virtual environment, we have the VENV. But if I'm in this and I click the Conda virtual environment, I get another window, but it doesn't have both virtual environments. I can switch between the two. Yeah, I don't see a way to do it unless you're actually inside. So I'm inside the Conda virtual environment here, and I can probably, let's see, what's the name of it? Oh, it's VENV scripts activate, and now I'm in both the Conda virtual environment and the Microsoft Python virtual environment. So what happens if I type Python? I get the virtual environment from Microsoft's version. That's understandable. That makes sense. Because the virtual environments from Python and non-Microsoft Python version and the Microsoft Python virtual environments are Python virtual environments and not Conda virtual environments. The Conda virtual environments are the base of the environment, and then the Python virtual environments layer over that. So I'm not sure why you'd want to change the version with a virtual environment when you're already starting with a Conda virtual environment. But the reason we're looking at this is not because this is how you want to set it up. We're looking at this because we want to understand this in case we're troubleshooting someone else's dev machine and it's not working right. This might be something they've accidentally done. So we can untangle this easily by looking at our existing virtual environments and looking at the prefixes on our terminal. Anyway, to stop this, you don't have to do anything other than just close the virtual environments and start again. So I know this has been long and confusing. Believe me, it was a lot more confusing with the original script. So this version has been completely unscripted just to see how to look at the unexpected issues. So hopefully this was helpful. And I guess we'll end it here. And if anyone has any questions, make a comment. Be happy to confuse you some more.